Welcome to the Draft Pro Hockey Show. I am Anthony Donati, the prospect Don, and I'm joined by Muskegon Lumberjacks head coach Colton St. Clair. How are you doing?
Good, Anthony. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you just got Tynan Lawrence back. Can you kind of just tell me how that elevates your team and just like what he brings to the lineup?
Well, I think there's a little bit of swagger that inserts into your lineup when that happens. I think all really good players have a little bit of that in them. That's what makes them, a little bit special, right? And so I think that just gives a little spark to our group, and we know what kind of caliber player he is. Everybody else does too. This is not here to just brag about him, but when you get your captain back, that's the most important thing. Just the presence in the room and the details that he's gone through to get back, and then also his experience, winning a Clark Cup and just being the internal competitor that he is, and he does things that are a little bit different. So, for one, maybe the guys are just a little excited to see him in practice. Who knows? But I just think the most important piece there is just getting our captain back.
Is there like a player that he kind of reminds you of when you're watching him?
I do. He's got some Macklin Celebrini in him, to be honest. I think. Just the impact both guys make for their teams, even at a young age, and the maturity that they play with, but their willingness to play away from the puck in a full 200-foot game, in my opinion, are what separate those guys from other skilled players, so to speak, and playmakers. So, I would that'd be my comparison right now.
Yeah, like also a USHL player, Chicago Steel. Macklin Celebrini kind of came up in my circuit in Chicago area, and I mean he's always been just incredible. So that's an incredible
Yep.
comparison there. And you were an assistant captain when you went to North Dakota, and I just
Yep.
kind of wanted to ask, like, since Tynan Lawrence is a captain, what kind of things go behind the scene that fans and media don't get to see from captains and assistant captains?
Well, I actually think one of them, fans and media do see, and so to speak, and just the way that you have to carry yourself and especially in today's world and in today's game with these players, there's a lot of distractions going on, whether it's agents or social media, parents, it's everyone's got a different skills coach and those things. So I think just the way you carry yourself is a big thing, and learning how to have that pro mindset where you control what you can. You can't eliminate every distraction. You can just manage it the best that you can. And just I think that gives our guys a little bit more of a professional feel. And that's really what it comes down to. And then just really believing in what our identity is. And if you get captains that do that and they carry themselves the right way, you generally have a pretty successful team.
And you started your career out in the USHL for Fargo Force. Kind of like what brought you to the USHL, and did that help you find your role as a coach in the USHL?
Well, yeah, I think you go back to some of a little bit of what you know, and obviously playing in the league and it being the caliber that it is. It was a goal of mine when I became a coach. And then going back to Fargo, being a young kid, 15 years old, moving away from home. I was from Arizona, so at the time, the opportunities in Arizona weren't quite what they are now, so to speak, and now it's grown so much, and couldn't be more proud of being a hockey player from Arizona. But there was a couple teams growing up, and some of the force staff were actually my coaches on those summer teams, and I had just left 40-man camp, not really knowing what my future held for me, and I ended up going to Fargo's camp and meeting Dean Blaze. It's just an eye-opening experience for me. The youth hockey, especially in Arizona at the time, wasn't like it is in Michigan, or where everybody knows what it is and takes it serious, and you have goals and aspirations to move up. Yeah, some players at the time did. My teammates all were really good players, but it just was a different feel, and you didn't know. I think going there at a young age and really committing to and investing in the game of hockey to pursue what you want to go for. And that helps you realize that. And then the maturity that you need to play against older players. And I just think that experience essentially made me who I am right now, right? And it was just so eye-opening playing for Dean Blaze and, teach you to be a man essentially, right? And you don't know any better. So it was just a great experience for me.
Who are some of your like coaching role models that you kind of implemented some of their style into yours?
Yeah, it's a great question. I kind of take bits and pieces of many people, to be honest. There's the connection with, Luke Strand, who we coached together in Sioux City, and we're fortunate enough to win a Clair Cup under his leadership. And then, I was also on Team USA for the Junior A Challenge when he was a coach as a player. So we had a little bit of that connection there. And just seeing the passion that he coaches with also the detail. And then you go back to some coaches I played for as well. It's you take bits and pieces of them as well because you remember what it was like to be a player and it could even be, Dave Hackstall's presence, right? He's got a demanding presence and walks, very tall and speaks well. That's the professionalism that you look at, and then you get Brad Barry, who just loves his players, right? And just a great human being and takes that approach to it and the love of the game and some little details and just talking one-on-one with those guys. It's really fun to go back and then you try and emulate some coaches from other leagues too, I guess. Nick Saban's a big one for me. I love that guy. I just think you know he can't always necessarily be that stern, right? But I love how he holds himself to the standard he holds his players to. And I think that's so important, to live that way. If you're going to preach it to your players, you have to represent that and you have to live it. And his willingness to always get better and stay on task and the discipline that it takes to day in and day out be that pro is something that, I obviously look at as well.
Yeah, I like that Nick Saban one because he brings culture. I mean, he's one of the greatest
Absolutely.
college football head coaches of all time. And when he walks in the room, there's just a presence that is felt. So, it's really interesting that you said a college football coach and comparing it back to hockey, you're just
Yep.
leading other men and kind of like what would you give advice wise to somebody that is kind of looking to go into coaching and just like what do you tell them when kind of obstacles occur?
Yeah, I think it's funny you say the obstacles. I guess the advice that I would give first, do it for the right reasons, do it for the love of the game and the love of the player. And, because I think sometimes I get you know, people think that all I care about is winning and all that. That's not true. It's just passion and the development for that player and getting them places they didn't know were possible. And within that, you obviously get, the results, right? It's the process that leads to that. Yeah, you have to strive for something, but I would say care for the player, and there's other ways to do it. You have to do it within your personality. And so I just think be who you are as long as it's for the right reasons, right? And just love it. Like it's a grind at the start, especially, and even now, but I don't think I've ever said, this year, hey, I'm going to work or going to the office. I don't, I just say the rink, I don't consider it. And I'm very fortunate to have a great group of young men in that room that believe in our process and truthfully, I think I need them more than they need me. I hope they know that. Obviously, there's times you wish you can say it a little bit more. It's not an everyday thing, but I truly love that room and I'm fortunate. And because you have the people make the player, right? And when you have the good character in that room and everyone brings a little bit of different personality, it's something really fun to be a part of. So just do it for the right reasons.
And you have like a lot of experience, even on the coaching staff with like a guy like Pat Maroon, who has been to the NHL won Stanley Cups, as well as like, Melvin Novotny has been drafted. Kind of how do you balance where the leadership is from guys that have had a ton of NHL success, and do players kind of often talk to Pat Maroon about kind of what he's doing or Melvin Novotny about the draft process and things like that?
Absolutely, as they should. He's a great resource for us too, and a great coach. And Casey Mignon and Taylor Ward are here every day, and those guys put the work in, and it's really fun to be a part of the staff. And with Pat, it's something really unique and powerful to be able to bring into the room if you have a Stanley Cup winner, multiple times walking the hallways. I mean, it really is, right? If you think about it, because all these kids are just aspiring to be that. And so if we can bring in somebody for that representation, that's not why we just brought him in. Don't get me wrong. It's a bonus piece to it. But just, another advantage that and resource that we want to be able to give our players for that development. So they always know at the next level, what it takes and just a little bit of that mindset and because it's really hard to make it, it's even harder to stay, right? And another piece of it, you get some guys that when you have a talented team and not everybody gets put in the exact role that they want for that game necessarily. And you talk about a guy that, was such a good teammate in the room on championship teams and somebody that went through a lot of adversity and found a way to stay and do what it took and it paid off for him. I think that is the most powerful piece right there.
Yeah, and speaking about other USHL players, is there a player that you kind of had to like playing against teeter your defense or just game plan around?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot here, and I don't want to leave because I want the right
No,
players to get
everybody.
respect, right? And I know I'll miss somebody. I'll say, yeah. Can I just at least give this answer? I know we have a couple times. There's a lot of high-end talent, especially playing a lot of the teams in the East, and we're dipping our toe into some of the Western teams here. But I think that everyone's got some really high-end skill and can make plays, and we've had quite a few lessons. So I'll kind of piggyback off that, and hopefully I land the plane enough. But it doesn't matter who you play. You're going to get every team's best, and especially this is not a arrogant remark or anything like that. But when you win the cup last year, what do you think is going to happen this year? Everybody's going to be after you, and you're going to get every team's best. And it just is what it is. It's life, and it should be that way. We love that opportunity to be able to do that and compete every night. And so, I think that yes, there have been a couple times where I think though, but you got to put the trust in the player too. We want to still be able to create systems and winning habits that translate to any opponent. And I think that's our number one focus. And within that, as coaches and players, we all learn together. And I think that's just the best way to go about it right now for our team.
Yeah, when you win, you have a target on your back. It's like anything, and people are going to bring your best. But your two goalie tandem, your duo, has been absolutely incredible, winning USHL Player of the Weeks or whatever it is. But can you tell me a little bit about what that does to your team when you know you have two goalies that are interchangeable and are standing on their head at some points?
Well, yeah, I mean, you get some of that too, right? Like they fully do their part, no doubt about that. Our goalies they work hard every day. Carl's got a great demeanor. Keener's really fresh, to be honest. That's the best way I can put it. And he's just growing and getting better every day. And it's great to see how they push each other and the confidence that they have each other, and then that carries over into our team too. And you always tell goalies, if you're good, watch how the guys play in front of you. And that part of that though is how you are in the room, being a part of that team, and it's a unique position, right? It's sometimes you're on that island, and it's you win or lose a game based on what people say are goalies, but they don't go through and talk about maybe a couple other plays that players made during that game that cost it as well. So it's a tough and unique position, but myself and the staff, we really want to make sure those guys are included. And Dawson Savchenko, our goalie coach, he's a passionate guy too, and he works hard for the goalies and in our team in general. And I think that carries into our goaltending, duos personalities really. And I think it's just awesome how they're growing and pushing each other with that internal compete. And if you do things the right way, you generally get rewarded, right? So I think that's, they got to keep a level head and just making sure they're attacking each day and mentally feeling good.
What is an underrated aspect of your head coaching like strength that you think goes overlooked?
Um, it's funny because I feel like my strengths are also my biggest weaknesses at times, right? It's you're growing and you're trying to find that happy medium at times and but I think the one thing that I would want people to fully understand is I fully coach for the right intent and I care about my players more than anything just because, I tell them they need to skate a little bit harder or whatever it is. I also do understand a living in the now and you want to make sure you tell them when they do something well too. And this is a constant process for me because I do know with some of my passion and my competitiveness that, there can be friction at times but it's so awesome being able to work these situations out with those guys in that room because I want to be as good as I can for them. And if there's certain things within my personality that can help the team that I have to, um, go up and down with a little bit, then I'm willing to do so, and I'm pretty open with these guys about that. And they're open with me too. So it's a great relationship. There's never going to be every day is not going to seem easy, and we know that. And it's a big time commitment that everyone's going through. And so you want to make sure that we're there for each other through the good and the bad.
What's a weird pregame ritual out of anybody that you've ever coached or played with that you've seen? Like, do you have a weird pregame ritual when it's playoff season or
I don't know. I don't know if I think it's so just ingrained in my routine. It's pretty similar every game day. I'm trying to think of it's put me on the spot. I don't know. That might have to be a TBD.
yeah.
Uh, that's a great question. Yeah, I apologize. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. I usually try and lay down, take a nap, and nothing. I usually don't sleep, but at least it's a thought of getting away for a little bit, and then usually get some sort of workout in and fill out the game card. My ritual I really like. I'm a kind of have a little bit OCD to me, so I like to make sure my game card's nice, and it's kind of I guess I will share it. I guess I do a breathing technique before every game. Um, you know, I I'm really trying to making sure you go in with a clear head and you're emotionally even keel, so it's not too high, not too low, so that way you're able to adjust and react during the game based on the performance of the team, not just going in with a certain mindset. So it's just a little thing I do that calms me down. And then everything like my 5-on-5 is color coded on my game card. The PK is a different color and the power play is a different color. So I guess those are maybe the weird things, but just things I do to stay engaged and ready for the game.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. I love the breathing and
Yeah.
um so what's one thing your peers know about you that fans and media might not know?
Oh, that fans and media don't know. Um, Getting married in June. So
Congratulations.
that's yeah, it's crazy. I'm sure I was at a few spots last year and my fiance is getting her PhD. So it was kind of a whirlwind year and we were actually supposed to get married this summer, but it became too much. We had different leases going on. So we pushed it back to this summer when we had a little bit more time and just really excited. She's a huge support system for me, and I couldn't do this without her. And it's great that, she's obviously getting her PhD, and so she obviously will have an identity as well. I'm looking forward to because, as much as she travels around with me, it's important that she can look forward to something too.
Yeah, that is really awesome and congratulations. Uh it's hard. You won the Clark Cup and then are getting married too and ha
Yeah,
head coaching job. So you've had a pretty good year. But
yeah, it's been great.
yeah. But can you talk about a little bit of like the like your playing career and kind of like the best players that you've ever played against and when you knew like I wanted to go to the NCAA level, like this is right for me.
Yeah, I suppose growing up in Arizona, I didn't really become too familiar with the college hockey route till probably my second year Pee Wee, first year Bantam-ish. And it kind of happened fast. I was actually originally committed to Colorado College, and I still, it was the hardest phone call I've ever had to make, and to decommit from there and go to North Dakota. And it wasn't necessarily anything with Colorado College. It was just I was so young at the time. There wasn't the rule how early you can commit, and my family being from Arizona, we had no idea, the college hockey landscape, and then you get offered a scholarship, and it's really exciting. And so I think it's great the rule that's implemented now to allow kids to have the time at least to know where a direction they want to go. And so, leaving early on, I got drafted to Fargo, and then uh, I got a pretty crazy adversity story. So I'll try and make it really quick, or at least, land the plane so I don't bore everybody. Um, yeah, I got to Fargo. It was awesome. I learned who I was a little bit, got to grow and around so many great human beings and teammates and um, just ones that are some coaching now and then go to North Dakota and going into my freshman year, I was at the NHL draft actually. And, I had kind of gotten hurt right before playoffs, hurt my knee, and then I just wasn't really the same during playoffs. So whatever it was, teams saw their reason and didn't get drafted. And then, you fast forward. So I was already a little gut punch there, right? And you just feel embarrassed. It was more of a pride thing. And I wish I would have handled it different. But then I get phase two of this where I've been told I was ineligible to play my freshman year, and it wasn't a grades thing. It was at the time not many online schools were really accepted by colleges, and I accelerated in high school my ninth and 10th grade year, and one credit didn't transfer over, and it so I lost a whole season. I either had the chance to go to the WHL or stay there, and actually it was unique because I was not allowed to skate with the team or work out with them. So I was on my own the whole year. Pretty tough. You find out if you really love the game and mentally where you're at with things. And so right there is just kind of a double whammy. And I think when I came back, obviously I was more of a hard-nosed energy forward. I had some ability to make some plays, but I kind of lost my identity for a little while there. Which is unfortunate. That's why I just tell guys just to be the best of what you are because it really does matter. It does. And then, fast forward to my senior year, I ended up having a couple shoulder surgeries, one during training camp that was out of the blue. It was a labrum injury, pretty bad one, and I ended up playing too early through part of that year, and then came back and played just here and there, and was fortunate enough to play in the national championship game, and then I needed another surgery after the season, so I was debating on what to do, and so I was pretty lost. I really was. I was down, and I used to be a billet family for the junior team back in Arizona. Yeah, when I was younger growing up. And so I went to the rink and remember sitting in the parking lot for a while, not really wanting to go in or knowing what, I felt like something was taken from me and kind of the poor me's, to be honest. And so I ended up walking into the rink and the junior team was practicing and the head coach actually got off the ice and he's like, "Hey, are you Colton?" I said, "Yep." He's like, I'd love if you would help us out." And I kind of basically in a sense told him like, "Oh, that's great. Appreciate it. Have a good one." And next thing I'm at the rink the next day with four practice plans and didn't know what he wanted. I just wanted to try it out and loved it there. And then the next year I was fortunate enough to get the head coach and GM
Wow.
of that team and again so many good players and I was fortunate enough to get coach of the year for the league because of my players, right? That was such a team award and my staff and then I knew I wanted to really 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 do it and get my foot in the door, so I went to be a volunteer at University of Maine. And then after that year was assistant coach and director of player development in Omaha. Then partway through the second year got promoted to associate head coach, and then went to be the associate head coach in Sioux City under Luke Strand, and we won a Clark Cup, and then went one more year there. I became the head coach in Minnesota, then head coach partway through the next year with Omaha, associate, and Muskegon, and here we are now. So you
Sometimes
got,
the path finds you. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and I think that's it's such a great experience that I got to go through because it made me who I am today, and all these players too are always going through something, and so I do feel I can give some pretty good insight on what I would have done something different or just help them through it at times because I know I have to push them, right? And I need them to understand it's out of love because there's an expectation because believe in what you can do. And sometimes you don't always have easy conversations. And I totally understand that. And sometimes I sit up and I feel guilty, but you know it's the best thing you have to do for that player. And whether it takes a day, you talk it out, it doesn't matter, but it's all out of respect for these guys and the care that I have. And I know it's not easy all the time hearing it, but it's just such a fun team.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. It sounds like you were an absolute dog to come back from a labrum injury and early. So, I mean, that
Yeah.
just kind of shows you how much passion you have for the game too. It's just really cool to hear your story because you know, every kind of step of the way, you didn't, I mean, you probably thought like, what's going to happen, but it just took you to the next step. So I think that it's really inspiring to people that do want to be coaches or kind of be in the sport because it's competitive. This is the
Yeah.
best sport. I mean, you want to win day in and day out. So it's really cool
Yep.
to hear your story. I wanted just to thank you so much for coming on and kind of giving me your time. You're a very
Yeah.
busy man. So
Oh,
thank
it's
you
all
so
good. Thank
much.
you. Appreciate
Yeah.
it. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you. See you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching and watch some Muskegon Lumberjacks games because they are awesome. Thank you guys.